Hi, welcome to another episode of Teen Pride Book Talks. My name is Lucy, and this is the show on AADL TV, where each episode I take a few minutes to talk about a young adult book that is both representative of and inclusive of folks in the LGBTQIA plus community. The book that I want to talk about with you today is called Just Ash, and it is by Santana. Ashley Bishop is a guy who really knows who he is. He is in high school. He loves soccer. He has a crush on his best friend, Michelle. He is super into the history of the town that he lives in, which is Salem, Massachusetts, and specifically studying the Salem witch trials that happened there. Ash is also intersex, so this means that he has a combination of male and female genitalia, and this is always something that he's known about himself. Things really change for him when one day during soccer practice, he gets his period. And once this happens and his body starts to feminize, everyone who knows him starts to view him differently. Santana is an intersex author. She has some really good explanations in this book about the many different ways that people can be intersex and the way that it looks in our world. 2% of the worldwide population have some combination of male and female genitalia. This is as many people as have green eyes or have red hair. So it is not something that is uncommon. Something that's also not uncommon is that up until recently, parents and doctors have chosen for their babies when they're born what gender they're going to be, and thusly done surgical procedures to change their body to conform to that gender. Ash's parents did not do that with him. They assigned him male gender, and he's always identified as male. And now his parents, seeing what has happened with him and when he gets his period and his body starts to feminize, want to change his gender for him and want him to become a girl. And so a lot of this book is a discussion around Ash and his gender. Ash learns how it is that his parents chose for him to be a boy and how that decision in a way just seems random, but this is how Ash identifies. He knows he is a boy. And now that his parents think that they assigned him the wrong gender, he feels like his control is being ripped away from him. His mom really tries to force him to live as a girl. And parts of this book are really difficult to read for that reason. It is really difficult to read how much his mother can no longer accept him as being Ashley, this boy that she has raised, and now sees him as Ashley, her daughter, despite the fact that he is telling her that is not who he is. Ash knows about his own journey, but he doesn't know other intersex people. He doesn't know about the diversity of experiences that people can have with this. He feels so much shame at the way that his body is changing, and he doesn't feel like he can really resist what his parents are telling him, and his body is betraying him as well, he feels. So he has to sort of go along with this feminization. And he notices right away, right after he gets his period, and people start to think of Ash as a girl, how differently he's treated by everyone. Teachers treat him differently. They socialize him differently. His friends treat him differently. A lot of them feel betrayed by him, that he's deceived them, that he kept something from them, and that he was a girl all along. And the whole experience, as you can imagine, is immensely frustrating and confusing for Ash, and it's immensely frustrating to read about. Ashley does eventually find a community of other intersex people, and he learns that having congenital adrenal hyperplasia, which is what he has, is not uncommon, but it doesn't mean that just because you have the same thing as Ashley, your journey is going to be the same. And it seems like a common experience that he finds in the people that he meets in this community is that decisions were made about their gender for them at birth, and many of them were physically altered at the time. And now they are fighting back against that treatment, and they are deciding who they are on their own. We start to learn as readers through Ashley's journey and through what some of the other intersex people that he meets inform us that there are some specific health problems that can arise as well for someone who has congenital adrenal hyperplasia. Ashley's best friend who he has a crush on, Michelle, also goes through an interesting journey when her parents find out about her real relationship with Ash. Also provides another really difficult storyline and how Michelle's parents really can't accept that she might be queer in any way. What is really interesting about this book is that there's this culture of silence, of parents and people not really wanting to talk about anything to go beneath the surface, all of which takes place in Salem, Massachusetts, which is a town built around this kind of culture of silence, but also this persecution of people who are different in any way. And because Ash has always been so interested in witchcraft and specifically in this ancestor, Bridget Bishop, he starts to feel this deeper kinship with her just because of the way that she was persecuted and she was executed for being a witch. But I really enjoyed the setting of this book as well, and Salem really plays an important part in the story. I really wish that there were more books like this with intersex characters. An interesting side note about the author, Sol Santana, is that she became one of just a small handful of women to make the rank of Eagle Scout, although she was then shunned in 2017 by the president at that time and turned in her badge. So though this book is difficult at times to read and somewhat harrowing, there is humor in it, and Ash is a pretty funny guy. I enjoyed him as a narrator. This book is first person from Ash's point of view. It's also just such an important story about learning how not to conform to society's expectations for you and how not to remain silent despite being asked and sometimes forced to remain silent, and how important it becomes for Ash to stand up for himself, realizing that the cost of him being silent is really something that could destroy his life. There are some other really great characters in this book as well, and ultimately the story is empowering. The story is always honest. It shows characters' good points and bad points. I really wish that there were more books out there like Just Ash, and I highly recommend that you read this one. So that is Just Ash by Sol Santana. Thank you so much for joining me.